came here in 1986 to run it for myself in October. I signed the papers and I was owner of the Red Barn Incorporated. People come in here for the experience, more so than I think anything else. And they love the fact that somebody's actually taking the time to listen. Find that balance between doing what you love that isn't really work, that might pay the bills, and more importantly, can resonate with people and actually to some extent help people. That's pretty rewarding. Without my customers, I would be doing what I don't love, guaranteed.
Yeah, she's just trying to save everyone money by putting them all.
Good evening. Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. If anybody would like an agenda, they are in the plastic sleeve by the map out back. And before we get started, I will ask our chairman to please stand and lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we get started with community notes, I'm going to ask from the chair, please observe a moment of silence for Deputy Eugene Cole, who was killed this week. Thank you. And before we get started with community notes, Mr. Sewell, you have something you'd like to say?
Yeah, can I remind all councilors to please turn off your phones and put them away, please, during the meeting?
That goes for the mayor, too.
Yeah.
First up is community notes. Community notes is a time where if anybody has something they would like to say, speak about, have an announcement you want to make, that's not currently on the agenda. We discussed tonight. We asked that you come to the podium and state your name, tell us where you live and what you have to say. And in order to facilitate an environment where people feel comfortable coming to the podium and feel free to say what they want, to have their points of view respected, I would just ask for the decorum of the room that we just withhold any applause and that we keep any side comments or any criticism to ourselves to allow that person to just speak. If you have something you'd like to say, we welcome you to come to the podium. But if you're sitting in the audience, we just ask that you silently respect all of those who want to come to the podium, because I think that facilitates a better environment where people feel comfortable coming to express their views, regardless of what those views are. So now we will open up for community notes.
Hi. Scott Roberts, Ward 2. This question is for Patty. Can you tell me what it cost the town of Waterville last year, or the year before, for an election?
Well, it would depend on what type of election it is. So
A recall election.
we didn't have a recall
But
election last year.
I'm trying to compare that to what it's going to cost us to do this recall election.
Right. Because we weren't planning to have a municipal election on June 12th, any additional costs would be solely related to a recall. So for a state election, the programming for the state machines is covered by the state. The printing of the ballots is covered by the state. But the staffing costs are at the municipal level. So we ramp up to whatever the expected turnout will be. Generally speaking, for a primary election, because it's really only open to people enrolled in parties, it's not typically a huge turnout. So we don't have huge staffing. So $2,000, $3,000 just for staffing, because we have to pay minimum wage. And
So about $3,000?
About $3,000. So when you add
$1,000 a word.
What's that?
$1,000 a word is what it's going to cost.
Could be. I think he's trying to say for Councilor O'Donnell and potentially myself, what is their additional burden to the taxpayer?
So for additional costs, if we end up with just a Ward 5 recall, which is what's been certified thus far, I wouldn't expect much of an impact to the turnout, so the cost would be borne internally for printing ballots internally, and we wouldn't program machines because we'd be probably hand counting 400, 500, 600 ballots at the end of the night, okay? But with the mayoral recall, adding that on top of it, I would expect a much heavier turnout. So we would ramp up staffing, you know, maybe another $1,000 or so. Because we'd have a lot more turnout, it's much more difficult at the end of the night to hand count 2 questions, yes or no, but also the quantity. So if possible, I would prefer to program machines, print ballots by the vendor, so that adds a couple $1,000.
So you think $5,000?
An additional cost for this, for the mayoral?
For the mayoral recall?
If it's a mayoral
election?
recall, $2,500, $3,000-ish.
$3,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, community notes.
Good evening. I'm Norton Weber, 30 First Range Way. Don't gasp when I tell you I'm going to keep this short. But I made this comment before. City Manager Roy, what's the city debt load right now?
What's the city debt load right now?
Yes.
Total of probably about $1.4 million.
Not bad. I was under the impression it was a lot more than that. You retired some debt?
Well, I tell you what, give me a moment and I'll answer your question.
Okay.
Been helpful, give me a heads up on this.
I'm sorry. My point on it is that. Sorry, I thought he'd have that right at the tip of his tongue. The finance lady's not here. I'm going to ask again that I wish that Colby College would retire the city's debt. I don't think there should be anything wrong with that. If it's 1.5, it was 25 million not that long ago. I'd like to see them retire the city debt. It would be a big help to the taxpayers, and also in view of the what?
I'm sorry. You were asking about our annual debt service?
No, our total debt.
The total debt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You said the right numbers.
I did.
Our annual debt service is about 1.4 million, and our total is in the 25.
There you go. Okay. Now that sounds like a lot, but you know, there's a $200 million athletic complex and all kinds of things going on. And I think it would be a great gesture for Colby to do it. You know, it really would, for someone like myself, it would mean a lot in taxes. And we decided, there's about $5 million a year in taxes avoided, quote unquote, through possible property taxes that they don't pay up on the hill. I think that's a.
Did you say we decided?
Well, I did ask you, and that's the figure you gave me. So, and if they can on an annual basis, if on an annual basis, they would just pay that in on that arbitrary thing that you and I talked about, that some nonprofits pay in, I think that'd be great. The other thing is that the town of Winslow has decided to put their bond issue for the new school to the voters, I saw. I think time is enough. Let's have one campus for the 2 towns. You know, there's plenty of room up at the high school. I know there's extra seats available. So I'm saying, come on, we got the chief together, we got the hockey team together. I mean, let's get the whole thing together somehow. I know there's going to be job shifting and stuff, but anyway, I want to thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next up for community notes.
Good evening. My name is Dan Libby. I'm a 12-year resident, and again, this is my 5th time coming to the Waterville City Council meeting, and for the 5th time I'm here to speak before the council. I want to talk about something today that may sound a little corny in the world we live in, and that is liberty. Thomas Jefferson once said, "I would rather be exposed to the inconveniences attending too much liberty than to those attending too small a degree of it. Now, I wish I had more than 3 minutes to let all that sink in. We are so quick to give away, throw away our rights, privileges, and liberty today. We do it with speech, we do it with prayer, we do it with guns, we do it with sanctuary cities, and we do it with life. And now the Sustained Mid-Maine Coalition is here to ask you to do it again. In this, it's just a bag, they will tell you. Don't you care about the environment, they will press you. Who would have thought it was so controversial, they will say, to delegitimize you. But the SMMC has said that this is only the starting point, and they weren't kidding. This I believe. Just look at what is happening across the state. Bath adopted an ordinance to remove plastic bags and now has a 5-cent cost for paper bags and is raising its cost to 15 cents. How long until they want to impose this cost on us? Today they tell us we have a choice for paper bags, but in Bath they are excited to use 15 cents as a deterrent. Portland is now looking to raise the cost of plastic bags from 5 cents to 15 cents. Why? Because they didn't see the results they wanted. The SMNC stood here and told us that they fixed the problem. They fixed the problem in 12 other towns, yet they are looking to raise costs now. That doesn't sound like they fixed it to me. Marcia Harrington, the co-founder of the Bring Your Own Bag movement, said not only are paper bags more expensive to retailers, but they also generate like 6 times more greenhouse gases to manufacture and ship than plastic bags, she said. The plastic bags don't decompose and end up littering land and water around the globe. For those reasons, reusable shopping bags are the most environmentally friendly choice. So it's not just me telling you, they are telling you that this is just their foot in the door. The SMMC told us that it wants to inspire, yet they thirst to mandate, that they want to educate, yet they tell us education fails. Education fails? Get better methods then. The SMMC needs to understand that inspiring people is not taking away our ability to make our own decisions away from us. Yet they say that this ordinance is not taking your ability away to choose from you, rather giving you a choice. That's really odd, because actually you have a choice. You have today, with no ordinances in place, more choices than you would have if they enact this ordinance. So, listen, please understand this is much more than a bag. It is the principle of the matter. It is yet another sliver of liberty we would give away that we would never get back. I suspect a grander plan from the SMMC than most. I wonder why each town is being asked to have different rules. I wonder if this could serve a greater purpose if a Democrat governor were elected. I hope we all think about this as this group continues to gain influence throughout the state. I truly don't want to come back here and say I told you so again like I am tonight. I ask this council to do the right thing. Say thank you but no thank you to the SMMC. Let the rest of the state know that Waterville can do the right thing without being overregulated and without adding ordinances. But just finally, Waterville is thinkers. We are thinkers. We're not drones. Let us go on as thinkers. We will do the right thing. We are better than what the SMMC gives us credit for. Thank you.
Hank Poirier, Ward 4. Thank you for letting me speak. I'd just like to give a shout out to Chief Massey and Waterville's great police department in the assist with Eugene Cole. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for the resources. I mean, that means a lot. I'm trying not to beat a dead horse and rehash what we discussed last weekend. But one of the things that I walked away with from everything from councilor recall, mayoral recall, disagreeing, the former mayor going on and on, was she turned to us like this, and you've always direct the chair, and said, I don't understand why you're upset. And that is just, that's okay. It's just, so I want to tell you that it's that thinking that President Trump got elected. It's this dismissing of the forgotten man. And I'm trying to extend an olive branch. Nathaniel, even, with the mission statement, it's not meant to make people feel good. It was just to kind of, again, stick it to the constituent. And we're not listening to the city of Waterville. We're only listening to a couple of prepared speeches. I always break up Gary on it, bust Gary on it because he has a nice prepared speech, but nobody's listening. So if you don't understand why we're mad and we don't understand why people are outraged. It's the same reason why you're outraged. If you're, you know, and I led by saying my outrage isn't diminished any less by your outrage. And your feelings, if they're hurt, well, we'll vote the guy out next time. But I just can't, it's just beside me that we want to go down this road, hurt a man because of politics. And we're better than that, and we are better than that. And you want the nice words, but the other side has outraged me on a number of occasions. I think the Morning Sentinel is extremely culpable in all of this. It's like gasoline. They are the gasoline on all of this. And they're, you know, they're sitting back going, I want to sell newspapers. I'm always wondering, what are they doing? And I was upset years ago when the mayor didn't say the Pledge of Allegiance. It bugged me. We have veterans that served in my family. I'm outraged. Well, where was the media flying to me, writing a story, me grabbing 15 of my friends and going to one of their businesses? That's not the way we do things. It's politics. It was a political statement. It's all politics. And when we set that aside and we come to do the people's business, I think we would be a lot more successful than playing politics with the issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Scott Beal, Ward 6. I am the spouse of the Ward 6 counselor, and I am here to talk about the Waterville PTO. We're doing a lot of good things at the Waterville PTO. May 8th and May 9th, we have Teacher Appreciation Day. Stella T is donating some of their time and resources to provide the teachers with some refreshments in the morning, and some of the PTO members are going to serve the teachers. On May 23rd, we're going to have a bingo night at the George J. Mitchell School. Family bingo night, 25 cents a ticket, primarily for the kids. I would encourage y'all to come on out and support it. My reason here is to ask for volunteers. We need more support from the community for the PTO. So if you have any interest, there's Facebook pages. You can contact me. You can contact my wife, the city councilor, Ward 6. And if you don't have children in the school and you still want to help, we have food pantries in all of the schools. This morning we unloaded 850 pounds of produce. We bagged it up and we provided it for all the kids as they got on the buses this afternoon. So we're trying to do good things, and we could use some additional help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve O'Coin, and I live at 35 Taconic Street, Ward 2. I just wanted to bring up something that goes, I think, away from this conflict, because I think that our public works crews don't get the credit they deserve. I see them out there at 2 and 3 in the morning moving snow. I see them helping build a new ball field. I see them short of equipment and short of staff, and yet they achieve all this stuff, but I never see a picture on the front page. I see an adulation of money and investment, but these are the guys and gals that make it run. And I think that has to be pointed out, because it simply is not pointed out often enough or at all. That's what I have.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Can I just add something to that, please?
Yes.
I mean, just to let people know, Mr. O'Coin, you're so right, and we have our new split packer truck out there now, and your recycling can be picked up every week now. For those of you that don't know, it's not every other week, it's every week.
Julian Payne, Ward 5. I'm not really certain about the debt level, because I went to visit Mike once and he's sitting there all happy with this green printing money machine that was ticking away, but we'll take his word on it. So I would just like to point out the the great place, the Muskie Center, I went with a neighbor today, and unfortunately it was half empty, but for $5, we ate, chatted, and we got free Girl Scout cookies as well. So you don't have to be old to go there. Anyone in the community who'd like to go for lunch, it's a great affordable way, and the conversation was interesting. I got to chat with people who weren't on their cell phone. And as far as school board, School Nurse Week is coming up. I'll be attending a talk that I was invited to at Colby on Thursday, a presentation to members of the board or community. And I will be participating with the Albert Hall School walk, leaving from the high school down to the Albert Hall School. And if Dr. Tate's husband approaches me with dates, I'd be happy to help him with the PTO as well. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Isgro, and I am a Waterville citizen and wife of Nick Isgro, the mayor. I wanted to speak tonight during community notes to share some information we have received from Waterville citizens who have been disturbed by the tactics used to gain signatures on the current mayor recall petition. I'm just going to go through a couple examples. We have been informed of Waterville residents receiving text messages from the Maine People's Alliance, a group out of southern Maine that has its own political agendas and doesn't disclose their donors. Residents have received repeated calls, some feeling harassed, from the Maine Democratic Party using their well-funded outside operations to fund phone banks, paid-for emails, and Google Forms. Waterville residents have faced petitioners. One resident said she was approached 3 times, some of them on the Maine Democratic Party payroll, who come from as far away as Farmington and Harpswell. One local contact for this recall happens to be a Farmington resident and is a community organizer for the Maine Democratic Party. We have also been informed that petitioners have misled residents, especially elderly residents, by telling them signing is to be able to vote in case this comes to referendum. One resident even said that after he asked to delete his name from the petition due to him being confused about its purpose, one petitioner proceeded to argue with him about not signing it. As a city, are we comfortable with having outsiders running this effort, especially after it was insisted upon that it was a local movement? Are we comfortable with having petitioners and callers from as far as Portland, Harpswell, and Farmington harassing our neighbors and elderly with no effect to their lives? Are we comfortable with how they are misleading citizens in hopes that they will sign the petition? It appears since these well-funded outsiders can't buy our city, they have decided to lie to our city. My question to the council: are you comfortable with this tactic?
Don't believe it's happening.
Do you think, then I would love to talk.
This isn't time for debate.
Well, and I would love to talk to you later, and I can give you the examples, because we have them. Well, I just listed them, but I can give you proof. Do you think this is honest? I've been heartened to know that there are some people out there that have determined this recall is not appropriate and will only do more damage. Karen Heck has labeled all those individuals in her piece today as afraid, illustrating yet another tactic being used to drive people to do something that they do not wish to do. And to be quite honest, with all of Karen's boasting of supporting women and social justice, I am surprised she's stooped that low. Once again, blanket labels have been made on individuals. In closing, as a huge supporter of community notes, with all the articles the Morning Sentinel has written about this, I challenge them to print even just 1% of this information if they are really interested in presenting the full and unbiased truth to their readers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Spence Conley, 18 Dalton Street. I'm not sure what ward, to be honest with you.
Ward 6.
I'm Ward 6.
Councilor Tate.
How you doing? I just consider myself Waterville, not any particular ward. Now, I have called Waterville home for 44 years. Probably not technically, because, you know, I'm only 44 years old. I wasn't talking for a few years. But in those 44 years, I've spent roughly 33 of them here in town. Those other years, the other 11 years, was spent in service to my country and at college, where I obtained a master's degree in U.S. history. At other times, I traveled the world usually going to third world countries as a missionary. And the time I went, it was usually the former Soviet Union had just opened up, and I would talk to the old men and the old women, and I would ask them, how did this happen? How did you let your country that you love so much, how did you let it fall to this? And the answer was reinforced by what I learned in history. It's the same tactics I am seeing going on in my hometown right now, where the political opponent is silenced because they can't beat them at the polls. They can't beat them at debate. So they attack. And I want to make sure of something before I get too far into this. What was the post that was so egregious that we attacked a man's livelihood? Can somebody tell me? Because if it's what I'm seeing on Facebook, I am truly ashamed for the first time in my life of what's going on in this town.
Excuse me.
It's
Order.
if it's what I've seen, and it's the, pardon me if this offends anybody, the eat it comment, I am going to assume that Weird Al Yankovic is not going to be welcome here anytime soon. I don't live in a bubble. My landlord / roommate is a Bernie bro from Vermont, professor at Colby. He and I have gone toe-to-toe over many things, but we still get along. And I actually asked him permission to be here because I was afraid of what I might say and it coming back to bite him. He said, say it because I feel it. When you start to attack a political opponent for anything that you find offensive, that is the first step in fascism. And I am not going to stand here and let that happen in my hometown. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Spence. Anybody else for community notes?
Can we remind people one more time that we aren't clapping?
Yeah, that's why I've used the gavel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Hi, I'd just like to point out that the Battle of the Badges is going on tomorrow. That is an annual basketball game. It's sponsored by the South End group, and it's at the Alfond Youth Center. All proceeds will benefit the South End Teen Center. And doors open at 6:30. I'd love to see as many people as possible there tomorrow. I'd also like to make a statement here. When I was here at the last meeting, and there were people that were standing up and giving speeches and talking about how the Democrats and Democrats maybe in power, members of the Democratic Committee, had approached the bank regarding the mayor's job. And I actually came up and talked to the mayor after the meeting about dispelling that. No Democrat that I'm aware of in any position of authority, frankly, no Democrat, period, ended up going to the bank. So people in this audience that think that Democrats approached the bank about what Mayor Isgro said, that is just a mistruth. And it should have been dispelled a long time ago because it never happened. That was an in-house bank decision based upon what the people at the bank saw being posted. And I would ask that the notion that anybody approached the bank to hurt the mayor's livelihood would be dispelled, perhaps by the mayor. And I think your reaction, Mayor, was that, well, I signed a non-disclosure form, so I can't talk about it. I get that.
I'll respond in a minute.
Okay, but I do think that it's important to dispel that notion. There was a lot of anger in this room, and as far as I know, and every Democrat sitting on this board, and frankly, every Democrat in the city, none of us approached the bank. So I just wanted to make that clear to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to get back to you on that, because I do want to talk about this. I'm gonna try to make it brief, because frankly, I've moved on, and my family is moving on, so I'm not gonna really get into my employment situation very much. We're on to bigger and better things. And in fact, there's a hell of a lot of Democrats in this city that support me right now, so I'm not gonna make that blanket statement, because I'm talking to them door to door. It is a fact that Lance Dutton, who is not a Democrat, made an attack and encouraged people on my employer, and that Scott Ogden, the communications director of the Maine Democratic Party, continued to retweet that material and encourage other people to hang on to that material and retweet that material, which was an attack on my livelihood that came from Scott Ogden.
Wasn't that after the day he'd already given you the ultimatum then?
No.
Okay.
So, but I'm not going to say whether there was an ultimatum or not. I'm just getting into this. And the only other information I know is that in the paper this morning, former Mayor Karen Heck said she had left a voicemail for the president saying that he should expect some press blowback after she was going to give a press conference. And I believe she's not a Democrat as well. So that's the knowledge that I have on that, Mr. Ferris.
So was that before or after
you know what, that's
the
the
ultimatum? Because it didn't have anything to do with...
I'm not going to talk about that, but I just gave you the information that I have available to me. And so that's the information I have. And I do want to give actually a thank you to, frankly, the thousands of Democrats in the city, some of whom aren't even my voters initially, who understand that what's going on in the city is absolute rubbish. It's ridiculous. And, but you know, the reality is, myself, the council here, we have a job to do. We've got city business to move on. There's a lot of great things happening in this town, and that's what I'm going to be focused on. So thank you. Is there anybody else for community notes?
I hate to not be the life of the party here, but can I remind people again that we are not clapping?
Thank you.
Steve, you missed all the fun last week, 2 weeks ago.
Hello, my name is Catherine Weeks from Ward 1. I would just like to first commend Mrs. Isgrove for her courage to take the stand that she has. What she said tonight is absolutely true. We had a person walking our street of all times Sunday. Sometimes Sunday is important to Christian people, but this person was not from Waterville, trying to collect signatures. So everything that Mrs. Isgrove said about that is completely true. I will say the Sentinel did one very positive thing, publishing the photo on April the 19th with our mayor and Ms. Heck. That photo really spoke very loudly. And regarding Winslow, I can understand why Winslow doesn't want to join Waterville. Because this is a circus. We are, not we, but they are trying to crucify our wonderful mayor, who has been a lifelong resident of Waterville, who has only tried to set us back on a path after being very, very off the path. If we should have had a recall of a mayor, it should have been Ms. Heck when she wouldn't salute the flag. So we need to really rally, and tomorrow is the deadline for those fictitious signatures. Let's just put this away. If you need a cause to rally, you need to call Fresno State University in California with the awful comments that this professor made about Mrs. Bush. If you're not aware of that, look it up. Rada Jada, saying what a wonderful day it was to get rid of this racist woman. That is something we should be outraged about, not our mayor. And each council person really needs to examine themselves and why they are sitting on this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Catch Steve. No, we can't. We're not doing a second round, Norton. Sorry. Is there anybody else for community notes?
Walk for life, the 5th of May, North Street. Sorry.
Jake Willow, Ward 5. I was not going to follow your wife this time. I think we can agree that maybe no Democrat called. Maybe it was a Republican. Maybe it was an independent. No one should call.
Actually.
What was that?
I think we actually don't know who actually phone called.
Exactly. So I don't think it should matter when you have a disagreement with somebody to call their employer. Work it out. figure it out. I know there's a lot of talk about the mayor's recall. We have a recall in Ward 5. All of this is because nobody wants to listen to anyone else. Instead of solutions, everyone comes up here with more and more problems and no way to fix them. The only way to fix it is to listen to each other. The only way forward is to put aside your disagreements and focus on what you actually agree on. Get actual business done. John, your recall, it stinks.
We're not going to talk about it until it's
No, done deal. It should never come to that. There's no reason for this other than partisanship all the time. And if we could just figure out a way to communicate with each other instead of looking for reasons to be upset with each other, we might go a little further.
Thank you. Anybody else for community notes? Okay, we will move on. We have a disclosure of conflict of interest. Do any of the city councilors have a conflict of interest with any of the votes they will take tonight?
I might have one.
Probably.
It seems to me that one of the resolutions involved me.
Okay, so we'll mark you. Thank you, John. Next, we will move to the approval of the consent agenda. Could I get a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Unfinished business, order 71, 2018.
Could I make a motion to read all unfinished business as title only, 71 through 76?
Second.
All in favor? Great.
An order providing for funding for Business and Career Center at the Waterville Public Library.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, Patty?
Counselor Sol?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Lessing?
Yes.
Counselor Mayhew?
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Dupont?
Yes.
Voted 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Next is order 72, 2018.
An order providing for appropriation of funds to replace airport equipment truck.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any
Forgot.
discussion? Council?
I forget sometimes.
Can I get a roll call, Patty?
Counselor Sol?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Lessing?
Yes.
Counselor Mayhew?
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Dupont?
Yes.
Voted 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Order 73, 2018.
An order providing for approval of forfeiture.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion? Can I get a roll call, Patty?
Counselor Sol?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Lessing?
Yes.
Counselor Mayhew?
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Dupont?
Yes.
Voted 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Next is order 74, 2018.
An order providing for improvements to city parking lot.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Just for those who may not have been here, this is exciting news, for especially if you worry about parking downtown. We are going to be doing some paving behind the old Eldon Inn and fixing that parking lot up, so there's going to be more public parking available on the upper side of Main Street here. I'll take a roll call, Patty.
Counselor Sol?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Lessing?
Yes.
Counselor Mayhew?
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Dupont?
Yes.
Voted 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Next, order 76, 2018.
An order providing for acceptance of grant award Alphorn Pool.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion? I'll take a roll call.
Counselor Sol?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Lessing?
Yes.
Counselor Mayhew?
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Dupont?
Yes.
Voted 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to new business, resolution 79, 2018.
A resolution providing for referral to the planning board be it resolved by the Waterville City Council acting as municipal officers that in accordance with Article 7, Section 7.1 of the zoning ordinance, a proposal to amend the zoning map is hereby referred to the planning board for public hearing and recommendation.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion? Questions? All in favor? Next is resolution 80, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
Any all in favor?
A resolution providing for renewal of a special amusement license to Pizza Degree Incorporated, doing business as Pizza Degree.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Resolution 81, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for a renewal of a special amusement license to Washburn Enterprises LLC, doing business as T&B's Outback Tavern.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion? All in favor? Resolution 82, 2018.
A resolution providing for a bid award for airport utility truck. Be it resolved by the Waterville City Council acting as municipal officers that the city be authorized to award a bid in the amount of $26,460.00 to Central Maine Motors of Waterville, Maine. Be it further resolved that the snow plowing equipment for the airport utility truck be purchased from Trailside Performance of Winslow, Maine in the amount of $6,994.00.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Michael.
This item is a companion item to order number 72. Both those council actions concern the same truck. We really should have combined both of these into one order, but we forgot about the fact the council needs to accept the bids that were submitted for the purchase of the truck and the snow plow gear. That order 72 up above just allowed us to go out and spend the money, but really we've got to have you accept the bids to buy the equipment. So that's what resolution 82 is about.
Were there other
Same
bids?
truck.
Were there other bids, Mike? I don't have any bid information on this
Yes.
resolution.
We only received one bid on the truck itself, the utility truck. That's correct? Right. And the plow gear also, I think only one bid. That was kind of a specialty type.
Specialty thing with a trade-in.
With a trade-in.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, we did bid it out as we normally do.
What kind of truck? Like a big pickup? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a utility truck. It's
Three-quarter ton.
three-quarter ton.
Okay.
And we're both, Rainey and I, are happy to announce that the supplier for the truck is a local dealer, Central Maine Motors. So, and the snowplow gear is coming from Winslow. So that's good.
Any questions?
I'll point out too that the insurance proceeds and then the money that we have from the business park reserve account from tree clearing will cover nearly all of the expense of this truck.
Wonderful. Thank you, Randy. Okay. All those in favor? Next, resolution 83, 2018.
A resolution providing for sale of city property West River Road. Be it resolved by the Waterville City Council acting as municipal officers that the city manager be authorized to solicit bids for the sale of a 6-acre parcel of city-owned land adjacent to the site of the former treatment lagoons for the former Wyandotte Woolen Mill. Be it further resolved that the city manager be authorized to have this property surveyed if necessary.
Move to adopt.
Second.
At the request of the person interested in buying, he's asked to postpone this indefinitely. So he's withdrawn his interest in the site.
Okay.
Mike, one quick question. That's in the south portion of the lagoons. Does the city also own the parcel to the north of the lagoons?
No.
No.
No, the lagoons, well, a little bit of land north of where the lagoons are, but not much.
Not much, okay.
If you see a road there on the map, we own up to that
I see, yeah.
access road. Yeah.
Mike, quick question. Have we thought about marketing the land regardless of the interest being withdrawn?
Well, the land is really somewhat hindered by the fact that you had two wastewater treatment lagoons on the site for quite a while. So even though the two lagoons have been remediated, both drained and covered, it still, would, I think, pose some questions for buyers as to what they could do there. So kind of a tricky site.
Move to table indefinitely?
Postpone indefinitely is the resolution.
Second.
Yes, second.
All right. All in favor? Next is ordinance 84, 2018.
An ordinance providing for an amendment to Article 4 of the Licenses and Permits Ordinance Mobile Food Vendor, being enacted by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. That Article 4 of the Licenses and Permits Ordinance Mobile Food Vendor be amended as shown on the attached.
Move to adopt.
Second.
See some of our friends here from the mobile food vendor business. Do you guys have any comments on this? Are we happy? That's what we like to hear. Great.
Mayor, could you just reiterate for the audience what the new ordinance would do?
Would you like me to read the summary, Mayor?
Please, that'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
This amendment will reduce the description of the congested business area, remove the requirement for a paid newspaper advertisement when a public hearing is required, formalize the procedure that vendors who are affiliated with an organized event that has acquired an assembly permit are exempt from requiring a license and must only provide a copy of their state health permit, and add that vendors who are participating in private events being held on private property are exempt from requiring a license.
Wonderful.
Can I just clarify as well, there was concern about the requirement that mobile food trucks cannot stop for more than 30 minutes, but that is only referring to food trucks that are driving around like ice cream trucks, so they can't spend more than 30 minutes in a single neighborhood, and doesn't apply to food trucks on a fixed location. So I know there was concern about that.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Next is ordinance 85, 2018.
An ordinance providing for amending the property maintenance ordinance, be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. That the City Council hereby authorize an amendment to the property maintenance ordinance as shown on the attached.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Michael?
The only purpose of this amendment is to bring our local ordinance in conformance with what the state has. Our local ordinance contains an outdated reference to the state building code. And so this amendment describes the current state building code and any amendments that should happen to that later on.
Does that also go for?
I got that right, Dan?
You got it.
Okay, our code enforcement officer is here to watch me, make sure I explain that right. And the next item on your agenda really is the same thing, is just to correct a reference in the ordinance that now cites the current state law.
Sydney?
Mike, you and I talked privately before the meeting.
Right.
I have concerns from Brown House Properties, Lindsay Burrell and Sherwood, concerning part of the property maintenance ordinance, section 7-5E2 for the power source. I got a conversation with them about having concerns about the power source for smoke detectors shall be an AC primary power source, AC powered smoke detectors. We also have a battery backup system. In their line of work and what they do, along with many other landlords and apartment building owners, is that a lot of these housing regulation is, there's HUD inspectors for Section 8 housing that approve lithium-ion battery smoke detectors that have a 10-year warranty on them. And the question is, if that would be a possible amendment to this clause, or if it's even possible under the state regulation the way it is. So that's the question that we need to answer.
Right.
As far as that's concerned, they've heard, you know, they have a 10-year warranty on them. They have an alarm system when they're far better than a 9-volt. They have an alarm system on to go off when the batteries, lithium, obviously, ion batteries are very long-lasting. Instead of relying on electrical with breakers tripping, with power failure, with this being tied into your electrical system and weather-related elements that we have in the state of Maine, my question is, would it be possible to have the lithium-ion batteries as an amendment to this on section 7-5E? And this is what their question is. I represent them in my ward. They've asked me to speak on behalf of that. If code enforcement, or like I explained to you, if the fire department is involved with this, I'd like to have conversation about that, at least by the second reading.
Right.
Right, because there will be 2 readings for this.
Right. That's just about what I was going to say. You know, the reason that we have 2 readings for ordinances is to be able to answer some of those questions. So I'd encourage you to take a first vote tonight, hold off a second vote if necessary until those questions are answered. But if you could ask them to come in
meet with Dan. And we
Certainly will.
Yeah, we should have someone from our fire department here.
Did you say, Mike, that this language mimics the state ordinance?
You're right. So I'm concerned that what they're talking about is not a local requirement, but in fact a state fire.
I believe it's under the life safety code.
Life safety code, which is a state thing. But we can find that out once we all
I mean,
meet.
there has to be some variation if what they're saying is HUD Section 8 inspectors are approving to have these smoke detectors in infrastructure, that there has to be some substance to this.
Yeah.
This is why I'm proposing this on their behalf.
Yep, and that's why we need to meet between now and the second vote.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, if we vote on this tonight, there would still be the opportunity to amend it pending further information?
Yep, correct.
Okay, all in favor? Next, ordinance 86, 2018.
An ordinance providing for amending the building and electrical permit ordinance, being enacted by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. That the City Council hereby authorize an amendment to the building and electrical permit ordinance as shown on the attached.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there a discussion on this, separate to what we just had? All in favor? Next is Resolution 87, 2018.
A resolution providing for authorizing a special municipal election in Ward 5 to be held on June 12, 2018. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. Whereas pursuant to Article 10, Section 1 of the Waterville City Charter, a petitioner's affidavit was filed on April 10, 2018 to begin the process to recall the Ward 5 City Councilor. And whereas the city clerk has received and certified the required 145 voter signatures by the May 2nd, 2018 deadline to initiate a recall election. And now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby authorize a Ward 5 special municipal election to be held on June 12, 2018 for the following question. Shall John O'Donnell be recalled? Be it further resolved that a warrant be issued fixing the polls located at the Thomas College Fieldhouse, 180 West River Road, to open at 8 o'clock a.m. and close at 8 o'clock p.m. Be it further resolved that the city clerk is hereby authorized to give all necessary notices for the holding of such election.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion? All in favor? Next is Resolution 8.
A resolution providing for authorizing a special municipal election to be held on June 12, 2018. Be resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. Whereas pursuant to Article 10, Section 1 of the Waterville City Charter, a petitioner's affidavit was filed on April 10, 2018 to begin the process to recall the mayor. And whereas the city clerk has received and certified the required 857 voter signatures by the May 2nd deadline to initiate a recall petition, and now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby authorize a special municipal election to be held on June 12, 2018 for the following questions. Shall Nicholas S. Isgrove be recalled? Be it further resolved that a warrant be issued fixing the polls located at at Thomas College Fieldhouse, 180 West River Road, to open at 8 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Be it further resolved that the city clerk is hereby authorized to give all necessary notices to hold the election.
Move to table and.
Can you adopt? So I
Move
can
to
give you a
adopt.
bit of information?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay. So as of today, this item was put on the agenda in the event that the petitioners did receive adequate signatures by today. Obviously, time is very short for us to prepare ballots if we're going to program machines and that sort of thing. So if this election is going to happen, the sooner we can finalize that, the better. So, you know, we're really kind of up in the air until this is all finalized. Absentee voting has to start May 14th because that's the deadline for the state ballots to be issued for absentee voting. So it's a very short window. So I apologize if there's confusion that this was put on the ballot, on the agenda tonight, kind of ahead of the curve because I was, you know, trying to facilitate the process, if you will. So as of today, the petitioners have brought in 751 signatures. 676 of those have been verified. 75 have been rejected. So at this stage, they need to bring in another 106 to meet the threshold by 5 p.m. tomorrow. So what I would propose at this point is for the council to postpone action on this item until May 8th, if sufficient signatures have been returned, or by tomorrow at the deadline, or to the next council meeting if they haven't. So if they have, I'll notify you this week, because I'll know, and we can finalize it on May 8th so I can get the process of ordering the ballots and get things rolling. So again, we're on a fast track and we're trying to facilitate it if it's going to happen. We really want to try to couple it with the June 12th election. Otherwise, we're running an election in July and it's a lot more cost.
Well, Patty, I just want to say, because I've been in the office a little bit more lately, and I just want to say thank you to you and your staff who've done an incredible job. Having to actually not do the job that you should be doing, that's being caused by this disruption in our community. So thank you guys for keeping your chin up and keeping morale up while you're being so disturbed by this action. Thank you.
So you want us to table it to May 8th? Is that what you want?
Well, May 8th,
Is that the next council meeting?
if sufficient signatures are turned in by the deadline, or May, what's the next council meeting, the 17th?
Yeah.
No,
That
it's
will be the
15.
motion, either or, that way if they don't bring in enough signatures by 5 o'clock tomorrow, it doesn't have to come up at the budget workshop next week when you have other things to discuss. If sufficient signatures do come in, I'll bring it forward on May 8th. If not,
Is that considered an official meeting? Under the
it
charter?
is. We prepare an agenda and distribute it, so it's a meeting.
Okay.
We generally don't take votes, but we can.
The second date would be May 15th, not 17th.
Okay. So it'd be 5/8 or 5/15.
15.
And if sufficient signatures aren't turned in by 5 p.m. tomorrow, then on May 15th, we can just postpone indefinitely.
So moved.
Second. For May 8th. For May 8th.
Or 15th.
Or the 15th.
Yes, we will allow public comment.
Thank you. I mean, look, here's the Waterville Sentinel. Waterville Council to consider 2 recalls. But right under it says they don't have enough signatures. Well, why was it on there? And what is the flag waving going on here? Well, let's get enough votes. You know, it says right here they don't have enough. Everybody run. I mean, I don't know why they couldn't have got them at the senior class of the high school. Good heavens. And you know, all of this, and then I'm sorry, Amy, I don't know who held you up to write that article. And the other one is right under it, Rachel's article, emails illustrate public response to Isgro's tweet. And then, you know, everybody must have read the article. But on their own website, and I'm probably not, it's not going to let me do it, but there's a list of 5 emails, letters to the editor on there. Only one of them was opposed to this man. Come on. The whole thing, I am just so, how could you possibly have put that on the agenda? I just don't know. I'm sorry, folks. I'm a Second Amendment guy, okay? 2A, call me. You lose the Second Amendment, you're going to lose the First. And this is happening right before your eyes. That is what's going on. You gotta stop it. This is crazy. I wanted to get up and say, let's not have that special election on John. John, I did not want it.
I appreciate that, Norm.
I'll tell you, I would have said, and in all due respect to those folks who supported Julian and the other situation, come on, there's business to be done. It's going to cost how much ever to have these elections. We can't afford it. You know, our taxes are going to be going up like crazy. You know, and wow. I've been in Waterville since 1961 when he opened the Peter Weber Ski Shop on College Avenue. Does anybody remember where that was? You know? But, you know, and I ran for mayor once. I lost by 84 votes.
Thank you, Norm.
Somebody says, yeah, I guess you won. Anyway, thank you, Nick, for all you've done, and the council too.
Thanks for all the support.
Before we have this vote again, can you just reiterate to people about the no clapping, please? I mean,
I'm not going to reiterate it. I'll continue to monitor it as I've been doing.
Okay,
But I think you just did. Just keep some order in the house, please. Thank you. Yes, if somebody would like to approach the podium, you can come and make a comment on this.
Yeah, I was missed on the previous comment, so I'd like to thank Jay for organizing the recall to represent Ward 5. You've done a great service, and I call on everyone who would have supported me to vote for Jay, and anyone who wouldn't have supported me to also vote for Jay.
But Julian, I just want to be clear, we're not talking about that one now.
Yeah, I missed the...
Well, I know, but I looked in the audience, I looked, and
Okay.
nobody got up, so that time kind of passed.
Okay, can I have 30 seconds on that?
Not for the,
Okay.
not for the John O'Donnell recall, I'm sorry. I just can't break, I can't break the agenda.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to, Hank Poirier, Ward 4, thank you, Norton, for that. That was big. Just my cousin, Jean Poirier, was married to Billy Croce, and Billy Croce recently passed away from pancreatic cancer. It was very aggressive. And he bought, when the Webbers sold it, and he managed, I got my skis there, and all the Poiriers got their skis there and outfitted us for skiing and got me into the sport. Loved him, great guy. Yeah, you know, everybody that has been harassed or brought to the door, or especially from somebody on the outside, that really, you know, this is contentious enough as it is, but to have people coming at your house and on your day off and bugging you about that, I want to personally thank, and go on record as thanking everybody who has not signed that petition to recall our mayor. You know that this was politics, and it's all politics. Nikki probably shouldn't have said it, but it's in a political vein, and it now stems to the Second Amendment, and I'm a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. Nationally, we saw that Laura Ingram's post, maybe that might have even been distasteful as well, but you're seeing support for her. Now, just to let you know that when I came here 2 weeks ago and I said what I said, I've got calls and emails from California, from Illinois, from Detroit. I've got messages in my email. I got people, the 3%ers across the country asking me to, Hank, you spoke from the heart and you're passionate about it. It should have never come to that, but I'm very honored. And I never, in my life, like I said, I was in this years and years ago. In the 80s, I used to come here and we see Chris's dad and Paula Verdier and, you know, these old stalwarts that used to come in. It'd get heated, knock down, drag it, but it would never come to that. And it would never come to that point. So again, I just want to be, you know, I want everybody to know that we can get past this. And I compliment everybody for if somebody comes to your door and asks you for the signature, I'm asking you to not sign that because I just think it's a waste of time and the city can move past this.
Thank you.
Mike, are we allowed to have discussion after a motion to the table's been granted?
Are we allowed to have discussion?
I thought after a motion to table has been approved, we've got to move on.
I don't think we approved the
I don't
motion
think
to
you've
table.
taken a vote yet.
We haven't taken the vote yet.
That's what you need to do next.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Sandy Sullivan, Ward 5. For most of my life, have probably been, like most people, not paid a lot of attention to politics. I voted every time, but I never really participated and learned about what was going on. When I moved to Waterville, I started attending, and the person who has taught me about politics is the mayor. He has taken my emails, he has taken my private messages, explained to me what a TIF is, explained to me what's going on. The fact that 3 words, and in my opinion, it wasn't 3 words, because in Rachel Ohm's article this morning, this actually started back probably at least in October, well before the 3 words were spoken. I'm disappointed in Waterville, and I'm disappointed in politics. I was so excited to learn, and now what I've learned is it's a filthy, dirty business if you don't like who's elected.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. My name's Dan Libby again. I just wanted to thank you for your grace during all of this, because if you were the person that everybody was painting you to be, this would have certainly been the opportunity for you to show a lack of class, and you have not. You've risen, you've come to the highest level during this time. You've worked with facts. You've talked to people. You've been out in the community. I want to thank you for that. I think that says a lot about who you are and how you represent us as our mayor. And so I just wanted to say thank you. Class does rise to the top, and you certainly have done that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Howdy, Nathaniel, I'm in Ward 2. My name's Emmanuel, rhymes with Nathaniel. And I just had a couple things I wanted to say. I know the tensions are kind of high, and it'd be nice to like cool things down a little bit, because basically people don't work well when they're stressed out. They don't think well. I think you were kind of speaking to that. And if we can't listen to each other in little old Waterville, I mean, there's not much hope for the country, really. I mean, think about it. Like, I don't agree with the mayor on many issues, but, you know, we have to be able to talk. We have to be able to listen to one another. We have to be able to be respectful to one another. We have to be able to disagree respectfully. And so I feel the tension in the room amping up, you know, with one side and another side. And I think it's okay to have different sides. This is a democracy. I think other people have said it was a representative something or other I heard earlier from the legislature, but it's a democracy, and politics shouldn't be a dirty word. It's like how these people got here in the first place. We elected them. That's politics. I like all the amendments, all of them. So, I mean, you know, that's part of the Constitution. It's not boiled down to one amendment or another amendment. And I also don't like to see our local newspaper getting trashed. I think these people work really hard. They might not always represent what you want them to represent, but when I read the paper today, I saw 6 letters in favor of the mayor. I don't know if any of you read it, the editorial page, 6 letters. There were actually no letters in there, correct me if I'm wrong, that were opposed. So that seems like, okay, they put in a bunch of letters supporting him. They're doing the best job that they can in a difficult situation, a very polarized situation. So I would just ask all of us to chill out a little bit, listen to one another. We're going to disagree with each other about a lot of stuff, but if we can't be respectful with each other and listen, the ball game's over. Whether the mayor gets recalled or not, that's like small potatoes to our being able to talk with one another. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Dan Lowell, Ward 2. I had a question about this. When Patty was reading the previous resolution, she'd said, a question, should the counselor be recalled? Is that the same thing if these signatures for the mayoral recall are turned in, then it would put a question on the ballot to all of the voters of Waterville?
Correct.
And then if that passed, then there would be an actual election for a new mayor?
Yeah, the process is if the signatures are submitted in a timely fashion and certified, then the council has no discretion on whether or not to call an election, but they do have discretion on the date of the election. Of course, I'm pushing for June 12th, but it's at their, it's in their hands as to what date they would call that election. But the question would be a referendum question. Do you want to recall this person, yes or no?
Okay, so that June 12th would be the question, not the actual election.
No, that would be. So what would happen, so I can explain. So what he's asking, what would happen, let's say the election goes and the people say, no, we don't want to recall the mayor, I would just stay here. If they say yes, Chairman Sewell would come and take this place until there was a next scheduled election. I don't believe there would be a special election at this point because the next election would be November.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's actually, okay.
I got you.
That answers my question, thank you.
Yeah. Great, thank you. We're going to take a vote on the motion to table. All those in favor? Great. And now we have a special presentation under manager's notes.
All right, I've got just a few items. And I know Kim, are you out there somewhere? Ah, there you are. All right. So we've talked about next Tuesday, May 8th, as a budget workshop. Okay, we're here, Tuesday, May 8th. Want to let people know that the contractor at the Riverwalk project, Head of Falls,
basically started today. So you'll see equipment there, you'll see digging going on, and it's all good. And the repair of the Alphon pool, that request for bids went out today. So probably in your first meeting in June, we'll have bids to present about the work on the slide part of the pool, just that section. This year, next year will be the rest of the pool. So I just wanted to let you know that was coming.
So hi, I'm Kim Lane. I'm from Aging Well in Waterville.
And I'm Ann Lindeman.
So we're the committee, and we just wanted to take this time to tell you what we did last year and what our goals are for next year. So our mission is to really look at aging issues for all ages in Waterville. And we did a survey. Well, let me just say, our 4 goals were to develop a resource guide, which we have done. And we are going to leave these for the city clerk downstairs for everyone to take one. And they're also available an e-version. And we did a survey of the residents of Waterville, and we obviously got your endorsement in May, and we've developed a Facebook. So that was our 2017 goals. But I want to tell you some of the results from the survey and some of the things that we're shooting for the 2018. So our first goal is to identify stakeholders and start initiating conversations around some of the needs that were identified. And some of the needs that were identified were transportation and access to transportation. And not necessarily, I would say, accessibility beyond or within the greater city of Waterville. The other issue that came up that was quite disturbing, actually, was safety issues. That was the big thing. And this is, the things that people came up with were great solutions. Talk about, they came up with solutions, not necessarily problems. Low-hanging fruit. So one of the things they identified, and this is again for all ages and families, was to make the traffic lights longer so people can get across the streets. And this is from people with pushing carriages, working with a wheelchair or whatever it was, but they need a longer time to cross the street. The other thing people were asking for was little rest stops or bench along the around the city in here, just to sit while they're trying to make their way from one end of Main Street to the other, or in the concourse. Again, those are kind of low-hanging fruit. The other thing that people were mentioning is lighting. I know that you guys talked about paving a new parking lot, and I hope lighting is part of that. But safety was a big part of it. The other, another solution was when we put in new sidewalks, is not to make them so high. The granite or whatever we're using is just a little bit too high, a little bit harder to pull a stroller over, and definitely hard if somebody to lift their leg high enough. Anything else?
I think that covers it.
Another idea that people had was to make parking accessible, to create signage that made us look more family friendly. And we have handicap parking, but if we could put maybe some parking special signage that would say we're encouraging families to park here, or pregnant women to park here, or people that are carting a family member that has special needs. Because handicap, you have to have a placard, but we're hoping that we could encourage more family friendly. So this is what an idea, again, solutions, and not huge expenses, especially when we're looking at new parking. And 2 other initiatives that we are going to be doing for the fall that we've heard from people is sand buckets. A lot of our older folks need sand buckets, and we will work on getting those and getting them to people. And assistance shoveling their yards or sidewalks or stairs. So those are our items for 2018, but we wanted to share this with you. And we think that these aren't huge solutions, huge expenses.
Thank you so much for doing this work, first of all. I just think it's so important. And
I'm struck by a couple of things. One is that it echoes a kind of informal community forum that we had when the artist Theaster Gates was here in the fall, when we talked to people in the South End neighborhood about their issues. They're exactly the same. So, I mean, that was not a scientific survey,
Right,
but
right.
it really resonates. And then the other thought I had is that, you know, we've got a lot of Colby students who are looking for volunteer opportunities and a whole office that's coordinating that. And I think getting sand buckets to older residents and shoveling, if we had a registry of people who were looking for those services, I think that we could make that happen.
That's awesome, because what we're going to create, we said about September, a phone bank with REM, and people will call in to what they need, either a sand bucket or shoveling or both, so that we can maybe create a volunteer list with that. So there's a Kobe volunteer for
And I mean,
students.
that's actually not, you know, I'm in a museum, but there is a dean who administers that, and I can connect the two of you. And I think like what she would be looking for is like a list of those residents, so she would know where to disperse volunteer work.
Great. Good, because I can only shovel so many yards. I don't know about you, Ann.
Not that many. So did you want to mention the forum?
Yeah, so we're going to have a public forum. We're going to invite a bunch of stakeholders to start initiating these conversations around transportation and some bigger items. On September 12th, we're going to do a breakfast, and we're going to try to reserve the Alphon Center, but we'll get back to make a more public statement.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks. Too many papers. I forgot to mail everything.
Motion to adjourn?
We're adjourned.